Good day, class. Welcome to Rest 11, Methods of Research. We are still here at Unit 2, writing of your Chapter 1 proposal, but now we're on your conceptual framework. In this PowerPoint video, we will talk about the next part, which is your conceptual framework and your research paradigm. We will talk about the importance of each part and how do we write each part. So this is 1.4 and 1.5 of the template given to you, which is a template used in our college. So let us first dissect what conceptual framework is. Concept here is a term we usually use to represent a particular theme, behavior, situation, or idea. I have a concept, I have an idea. For example, blended learning is a concept. Student achievement is a concept. Reading skills and self-directed learning are concepts. So we have also here framework. What comes into your mind when you hear the word framework? So framework, it frames. For me, what comes in is the building of a house. You have the foundation, it's the framework. So framework meaning it's a guide. It has all the idea or the concept that you want to pour in for building the house. So framework is a statement or group of statements containing description of the concepts. Therefore, your conceptual framework is an explanation of the connection of variables. So you have the paragraph form and the illustration. So you have the narrative and the illustration. And yes, you see that right. Your research paradigm is actually under your conceptual framework. And this gives you the skeleton of your research study. When you actually see your research paradigm, you already know what you will do in the study. So why is this important? It is important because it illustrates already what the researcher expects to find in the research. So it guides the researcher by giving clear directions to the research, relating it to the phenomenon of the study or research problem or research question, and informs us with the research approach. It connects the researcher to existing knowledge and gives focus on why and how. So it actually provides a link and it shows connections of variables. It's a bridge. It shows the lineage from the research problem, from the background of the existing knowledge, from previous investigations or contemporary practice, and what do we already know or do. A frequently asked question is that, is the conceptual framework the same as your theoretical framework? I know for sure that you've learned the difference of these two from your senior high school, so this is just but a review. So the definitions of conceptual and theoretical frameworks are unclear and most of the time intertwined. So according to Camp, from your handout, your conceptual framework is a structure that has been learned to best explain the natural progression of a phenomenon being studied. So this is actually specifically formulated for your study. Comparatively, your theoretical frameworks are explanation about a phenomenon. So your theoretical and conceptual frameworks provide explanations why the problems under study exist by showing how your variables involved in the problem are related to each other. So that is how they are the same, but they are different based on the content. For conceptual framework, you have concepts, and for your theoretical framework, you have a theory. So here is an example of a theoretical framework. The theory is of Theory of Planned Behavior by Zen in 1991, and this theory states that attitude, subject norms, and perceived behavioral control altogether shape an individual's behavioral intentions and behaviors. So the theoretical framework for this will look like this. So again, this theory states that your attitude, subject norm, and perceived behavioral control all together shape an individual's intentions and behaviors. Another example of theoretical framework is this theory, the technology acceptance model by Davis in 1986. And the intention and attitude toward using technology is a function of two beliefs: your perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. So the theoretical framework will look like this. Again, this theory states that the intention and the attitude toward using technology is a function of two beliefs: your perceived usefulness and your perceived ease of use. Differentiate your theoretical framework from your conceptual framework, we have this example. Since we said a while ago that your conceptual framework is specific to a research problem under study, we have here the research problem in the example. So the research problem is factors affecting the academic performance of students. And you can have a conceptual framework like this. So in this framework, it shows you that behavioral discipline, intellectual training, and student-centered pedagogy all are factors that affect academic performance. This conceptual framework is actually a collection of theories. So your student-centered pedagogy and your academic performance, that actually involves your constructivist theory is theory by Brunner in 1960. And your intellectual training and academic performance. The intellectual training in your academic performance is actually under cognitivist theory by Jean Piaget, and your behavioral discipline and your academic performance is actually your behaviorist theory by Frederick Skinner. So as you can see here, there is no one theory that can actually frame your research problem or your variable. So it's a collection of theories, and we call this your conceptual framework because you have several concepts there that explains your research problem. Another example is this with the research problem: factors that influence the acceptance and use of technology in teaching among higher education institution educators. So when we talked about your theoretical framework examples a while ago, we see a lot of theories that talks about the use of technology. So we can actually use that part only or one part only of that theory and then add other concepts that is not in that theory. So you can have this or take only this part of a theory and then add your concept or a variable from your study and link it with the theory. So that is also an example of a conceptual framework. So these are other examples of conceptual framework. So you have here looking at independent variables, the interventions, and the dependent variables. So you can see here another one which is actually complex, and this is what we usually do and use in graduate school, masters and dissertations. So this is another one. This is knowledge, attitude, and practices using the health belief model. So as you can see, we use here a conceptual framework, not a theoretical framework. We may have added beliefs, models, and theories here, but there are other concepts or variables that are added by the researcher. So we call it your conceptual framework. So what should we best use in our proposal? A theoretical framework or a conceptual framework? So you message me on our GC, and that's again additional 2 points to whoever first give me an answer.